You've been told that type 2 diabetes is a life sentence. That once you have it, you're stuck managing it with medication for the rest of your life. But what if I told you there's a simple kitchen staple that could help reverse insulin resistance and potentially put your type 2 diabetes into remission? And no, I'm not talking about some expensive supplement or complicated protocol. Hey everyone, I'm Dr. Michael Reynolds, a nutritionist who helps people balance their blood sugar, improve their metabolic health, and understand their bodies on a deeper level. If you've been following along, you might remember my recent video on intermittent fasting and how it impacts insulin sensitivity. Today we're diving into something that pairs beautifully with that approach, and it's probably sitting in your pantry right now. We're talking about apple cider vinegar, and the science behind this is absolutely fascinating. Now before we get into the how, I want to address the biggest misconception that keeps people trapped in the blood sugar roller coaster. Most people think that type 2 diabetes and insulin resistance are about sugar. They think if I just cut out the sweets, if I just avoid the obvious carbs, I'll be fine. And yes, reducing sugar intake matters, but that's not the full picture. The real issue isn't just what you're eating. It's what your body is doing with what you're eating. It's about how your cells are responding to insulin, how your liver is processing glucose, and how your muscles are utilizing energy. Here's what I mean. Your body is like a house with doors that need keys to open. Insulin is that key. It unlocks your cells so glucose can get inside and be used for energy. But in insulin resistance, it's like someone changed the locks. The keys don't work as well anymore. Insulin is knocking on the door. Glucose is piling up outside in your bloodstream, but your cells aren't responding. Your pancreas sees all that glucose floating around and thinks, well, I guess I need to make more insulin. So it pumps out more and more, trying to force those doors open. Eventually, your pancreas gets exhausted, and that's when you cross the line from insulin resistance into full-blown type 2 diabetes. The conventional approach focuses almost entirely on managing blood sugar levels after they've already spiked. You eat something, your blood sugar goes up, you take medication to bring it down. Eat, spike, medicate. Eat, spike, medicate. It's a reactive cycle, and it never addresses why your cells stopped responding to insulin in the first place. It's like mopping up water from a leaking pipe without ever fixing the pipe itself. You're constantly dealing with the symptoms, but never the root cause. And this is where apple cider vinegar comes into the picture in a really profound way. Because what the research shows us is that apple cider vinegar doesn't just help lower blood sugar after a meal. It actually improves insulin sensitivity. It helps those locks start working again. It makes your cells more responsive to the insulin your body is already producing. That's not managing diabetes. That's addressing the underlying mechanism that causes it. Let me break down exactly what's happening in your body when you consume apple cider vinegar, and why this matters so much for anyone dealing with insulin resistance or type 2 diabetes. We're going to look at 5 key mechanisms, and I promise I'll make this as simple as possible because this stuff is genuinely life-changing when you understand it. First, let's talk about acetic acid, which is the main active compound in apple cider vinegar. When you consume apple cider vinegar, you're getting a concentrated dose of acetic acid, and this compound does something remarkable in your digestive system. It slows down the rate at which your stomach empties food into your small intestine. Now, why does that matter? Because the speed at which food leaves your stomach directly impacts how quickly glucose enters your bloodstream. Think of it like a dam controlling water flow. If the dam suddenly breaks and all the water rushes through at once, you get flooding downstream. But If the dam releases water slowly and steadily, everything flows smoothly. That's what acetic acid does for your blood sugar. When you eat a meal, especially one that contains carbohydrates, your body breaks those carbs down into glucose. Without apple cider vinegar, that glucose can hit your bloodstream like a tidal wave. Your blood sugar spikes. Your pancreas freaks out and dumps a massive amount of insulin to deal with it. And you get that whole roller coaster effect. The spike, the crash, the hunger, the fatigue, the brain fog. You know the feeling. But when you've consumed apple cider vinegar before or with that meal, the acetic acid slows everything down. The glucose enters your bloodstream gradually. Your blood sugar rises gently instead of spiking. Your pancreas can release insulin at a measured pace instead of in a panic. And your cells have time to actually use that glucose for energy, instead of your body having to stuff it away as fat. The research on this is solid. Multiple studies have shown that consuming vinegar with a meal can reduce the post-meal blood sugar spike by 20 to 30%. That's not a small difference. For someone with insulin resistance or type 2 diabetes, that's the difference between a blood sugar reading that sends you into panic mode and one that stays in a healthy range. And remember, every time you avoid a spike, you're also avoiding the corresponding insulin surge. You're giving your pancreas a break. You're reducing inflammation. You're preventing more damage to your insulin receptors. It's a domino effect in the right direction. Second, and this is where it gets really interesting, acetic acid actually improves the way your muscles take up glucose. Your muscles are one of the primary places where glucose gets used for energy, especially if you're physically active. But in insulin resistance, your muscle cells become less sensitive to insulin's signal. They don't pull glucose out of your bloodstream as efficiently as they should. Acetic acid changes that. It activates something called AMPK, which stands for AMP, activated protein kinase. I know that sounds complicated, but think of AMPK as your metabolism's master switch. When AMPK gets activated, it's like flipping on the lights in a dark room. Suddenly, your cells wake up and start doing what they're supposed to do. They begin burning fat for energy. They start pulling glucose out of your bloodstream and using it. They improve their insulin sensitivity. AMPK is actually the same pathway that gets activated when you exercise, which is why exercise is so powerful for improving insulin sensitivity. Apple cider vinegar is essentially giving you some of the metabolic benefits of exercise at the cellular level. Now, that doesn't mean you can skip the gym and just drink vinegar all day. Exercise has countless other benefits, but it does mean that apple cider vinegar is working on the same fundamental pathways that make exercise so effective for blood sugar control. And here's what's really cool about the AMPK pathway. When it's activated, it doesn't just help with glucose uptake. It also tells your liver to stop producing so much glucose. See, your liver has the ability to make glucose from scratch through a process called gluconeogenesis. This is normally a good thing. It's how your body maintains stable blood sugar levels when you're not eating, like overnight while you sleep. But in people with insulin resistance and type 2 diabetes, the liver goes into overdrive. It produces way more glucose than necessary, dumping it into your bloodstream even when you don't need it. This is actually why many people with type 2 diabetes wake up with high fasting blood sugar, even though they haven't eaten in hours. Their liver has been churning out glucose all night long. Acetic acid, through that AMPK activation, tells your liver to calm down. It reduces excessive glucose production. Think of it like turning down a faucet that's been running too hard. Less glucose coming from your liver means lower blood sugar levels, especially in that critical fasting state. And when your fasting blood sugar improves, that's a sign that the underlying insulin resistance is actually getting better. You're not just managing symptoms anymore. You're addressing the root problem. The third mechanism is about something called glycogen storage, and this is absolutely crucial for long-term metabolic health. Glycogen is basically stored glucose. Your body keeps it in your muscles and liver as a readily available energy source. When you eat carbohydrates, ideally a good portion of that glucose should get converted to glycogen and stored away for later use. But in insulin resistance, your glycogen storage capacity becomes impaired. Your muscles and liver can't pack away as much glycogen as they should, which means more of that glucose ends up floating around in your bloodstream or getting converted to fat. Apple cider vinegar helps restore your body's ability to store glycogen properly. The acetic acid improves insulin signaling, which in turn enhances glycogen synthesis. This is huge because when your muscles and liver can store glycogen effectively, they're essentially pulling glucose out of your bloodstream and putting it somewhere useful. It's like having a functional storage unit instead of letting all your stuff pile up in the living room. Your blood sugar stays stable. Your cells have energy reserves they can tap into when needed. And you're not constantly running on this feast or famine cycle where you're either flooded with glucose or desperately low on energy. And there's another benefit to improved glycogen storage that people don't often talk about. When your glycogen stores are properly maintained, you have better energy throughout the day. You don't get those mid-afternoon crashes. You don't feel like you need to constantly snack to keep your energy up. Your body becomes more metabolically flexible, meaning it can smoothly switch between burning carbohydrates and burning fat, depending on what's available. That metabolic flexibility is the opposite of insulin resistance. It's what a healthy metabolism looks like. The fourth mechanism involves something that might surprise you, and that's the impact of apple cider vinegar on your gut microbiome. Your gut bacteria play a massive role in your metabolic health, way more than most people realize. The trillions of microorganisms living in your digestive system influence everything, from how you extract nutrients from food, to how your immune system functions, to how your brain processes emotions. And increasingly, research is showing that the composition of your gut bacteria directly affects insulin sensitivity and blood sugar control. People with type 2 diabetes tend to have a different gut microbiome compared to people with healthy blood sugar levels. They often have lower diversity, meaning fewer types of beneficial bacteria, and higher levels of certain harmful bacteria that promote inflammation. This gut dysbiosis contributes to insulin resistance. It's a vicious cycle where poor blood sugar control damages your gut health, and poor gut health worsens your blood sugar control. Apple cider vinegar, particularly raw, unfiltered apple cider vinegar with the mother, contains beneficial bacteria and prebiotics that support a healthy gut microbiome. The acetic acid itself also has antimicrobial properties, meaning it can help reduce harmful bacteria while supporting the good ones. And a healthier gut microbiome means better insulin sensitivity, reduced inflammation, improved nutrient absorption, and even better mood and cognitive function. Your gut and your blood sugar are intimately connected, and apple cider vinegar works on both fronts simultaneously. It's not just about the immediate effect on a meal. It's about gradually shifting your entire metabolic environment toward one that supports healthy blood sugar regulation. Now, the fifth mechanism is something that often gets overlooked, but it's incredibly important, and that's the anti-inflammatory effect of apple cider vinegar. Chronic inflammation is one of the driving forces behind insulin resistance. When your body is in a constant state of low-grade inflammation, your cells become less responsive to insulin. It's like trying to have a conversation in a noisy room. the signal gets drowned out by all the background noise. That inflammatory noise comes from multiple sources: poor diet, stress, lack of sleep, environmental toxins, excess body fat, especially visceral fat around your organs. Acetic acid has been shown to reduce inflammatory markers in the body. It helps calm down that inflammatory response, which in turn allows your cells to hear insulin's signal more clearly. Less inflammation means better insulin sensitivity. It also means reduced risk of all the complications associated with diabetes, cardiovascular disease, nerve damage, kidney problems, vision issues. Inflammation is the common thread linking all of these together. When you address inflammation, you're not just improving your blood sugar, you're protecting every system in your body. And here's something really important to understand about inflammation and insulin resistance. They feed into each other. High blood sugar causes inflammation, and inflammation causes insulin resistance, which leads to higher blood sugar, which causes more inflammation. It's a downward spiral. But the beautiful thing is that it works in reverse too. When you break that cycle at any point, whether by reducing blood sugar spikes with apple cider vinegar, or by reducing inflammation through better diet and lifestyle choices, or by improving insulin sensitivity through exercise, the positive effects cascade. Each improvement makes the next one easier. Your body wants to heal. It wants to function properly. You just have to give it the right tools and get out of its way. So now that you understand the mechanisms, let's talk about how to actually use apple cider vinegar to improve your insulin sensitivity and potentially reverse type 2 diabetes. Because knowing the science is great, but what really matters is practical application. What do you actually do? How much do you take? When do you take it? What kind should you buy? I'm going to give you a step-by-step action plan that you can start implementing today. Step 1. Choose the right type of apple cider vinegar. This is crucial because not all apple cider vinegar is created equal. You want to look for raw, unfiltered, organic apple cider vinegar that contains the mother. The mother is that cloudy, stringy substance you see floating in the bottle, and it's actually a complex structure of beneficial enzymes, proteins, and bacteria. This is what gives apple cider vinegar many of its health-promoting properties. The clear, filtered apple cider vinegar you might see on grocery store shelves has been processed and pasteurized, which destroys a lot of these beneficial compounds. It still contains acetic acid, so it's not useless, but you're missing out on the full spectrum of benefits. Brands like Bragg's, Fairchild's, or any other reputable brand that specifically states it's raw, unfiltered, and contains the mother are what you're looking for. Yes, it costs a bit more, but a bottle will last you a while, and we're talking about your health here. This is an investment that pays dividends. Step 2. Start with the right dose and timing. The most effective approach, based on research, is to consume 1 to 2 tablespoons of apple cider vinegar diluted in water about 10 to 15 minutes before a meal, especially a meal that contains carbohydrates. This gives the acetic acid time to start working in your digestive system, so it's ready to slow down gastric emptying when the food arrives. If you're new to apple cider vinegar, start with 1 tablespoon and work your way up to 2 as your body adjusts. Some people jump in with too much too fast and experience digestive discomfort. There's no rush. Start slow and let your body adapt. The dilution is important. Never drink apple cider vinegar straight. The acidity can damage your tooth enamel and irritate your esophagus. Mix your 1 to 2 tablespoons in at least 8 ounces of water. Some people like to add a little bit of lemon juice or a tiny amount of raw honey to improve the taste, which is totally fine. Just keep it simple. You're not making a fancy cocktail here. You're taking a therapeutic dose of something that's going to help your body function better. If drinking it before every meal feels like too much, start with just your largest meal of the day, typically dinner for most people. That's usually when people consume the most carbohydrates, so that's where you'll see the biggest impact on your blood sugar. Step 3. Monitor your response. This is where a lot of people miss out on valuable information. If you have a glucose meter, use it. Check your blood sugar before the meal and then 1 to 2 hours after. Do this with and without the apple cider vinegar so you can see the actual difference it's making for you personally. Everyone's body is a little different. Some people see dramatic improvements right away. Others notice more subtle changes that accumulate over time. The data will show you what's working. And even if you don't have a glucose meter, pay attention to how you feel. Do you have more stable energy after meals? Are you less hungry between meals? Is that mid-afternoon crash gone? These subjective measures matter too. Your body is constantly giving you feedback. Listen to it. Step 4. Combine apple cider vinegar with other insulin sensitizing strategies. This is really important. Apple cider vinegar is powerful, but it's not magic. It works best as part of a comprehensive approach to improving your metabolic health. If you're still eating a diet loaded with refined carbohydrates and sugar, if you're sedentary, if you're chronically stressed and not sleeping well, apple cider vinegar alone isn't going to reverse your diabetes. But when you combine it with other evidence-based strategies, the effects multiply. Pair your apple cider vinegar with a lower carbohydrate diet that emphasizes whole foods, plenty of vegetables, quality proteins, and healthy fats. Add in regular movement, even just walking after meals, which has been shown to significantly improve blood sugar control. Prioritize sleep, because poor sleep absolutely destroys insulin sensitivity. Manage your stress through whatever methods work for you, whether that's meditation, time in nature, or talking with a therapist. All of these things work together synergistically. Think of it like building a house. Apple cider vinegar is one tool in your toolbox. It's a really good tool, but you can't build an entire house with just one tool. You need the whole set working together. The foundation is your diet. The frame is your movement and exercise. The roof is your sleep and stress management. Apple cider vinegar is like the quality finish work that makes everything come together beautifully. It optimizes what's already there. It takes you from good to great. But you need those other elements in place too. Step 5. Be consistent but not obsessive. The benefits of apple cider vinegar accumulate over time with regular use. Having it once isn't going to change your life. Having it consistently before your main meals for weeks and months, that's where you see real transformation. But here's the thing. If you forget sometimes, or if you're eating out and it's not convenient, that's okay. Don't stress about it. Don't let it become another source of anxiety in your life. The goal is progress, not perfection. Aim for consistency most of the time, and let go of the idea that you have to be perfect. Life happens. You're going to have days where you're traveling or celebrating or just too tired to think about it. That's fine. Just get back on track the next day. The cumulative effect of doing it most of the time is still enormously beneficial. And let me address something here because I know some of you are thinking it. Yes, apple cider vinegar has a strong taste. Yes, it can be unpleasant at first. Some people love it, some people tolerate it, and some people really struggle with it. If the taste is a barrier for you, there are a few things you can try. Mix it with more water to dilute it further. Add it to a glass of herbal tea instead of plain water. Use a straw to drink it so it bypasses some of your taste buds, though you still want to protect your teeth. Some people even take apple cider vinegar capsules, which contain dehydrated apple cider vinegar. These work, though the research is primarily on liquid vinegar. And there's something to be said for the ritual of preparing and drinking it that helps reinforce the habit. But if capsules are what it takes for you to be consistent, then capsules are fine. The most important thing is that you actually use it. Step 6. Adjust your carbohydrate intake strategically. Now, apple cider vinegar helps blunt blood sugar spikes, but that doesn't give you a free pass to eat unlimited carbs. A most effective approach for reversing insulin resistance and type 2 diabetes combines apple cider vinegar with a reduction in overall carbohydrate intake, especially refined carbs and sugars. You don't necessarily have to go extremely low carb or ketogenic, though some people find that works really well for them. But you do need to be mindful. Focus on getting your carbohydrates from whole food sources like vegetables, moderate amounts of fruit, legumes if you tolerate them well, and if you do eat grains, choosing minimally processed versions like steel-cut oats or quinoa rather than white bread or pasta. And here's a strategic tip. On days when you know you're going to eat more carbohydrates, maybe it's a special occasion or you're having a meal you really enjoy, that's when apple cider vinegar becomes even more valuable. Use it deliberately before those higher carb meals to minimize the blood sugar impact. Think of it as a buffer. It's not giving you unlimited freedom to eat whatever you want, but it is giving you more flexibility while still protecting your metabolic health. Over time, as your insulin sensitivity improves, you might find you can tolerate more carbohydrates without the same blood sugar swings. But initially, combining carb reduction with apple cider vinegar gives you the fastest and most dramatic results. Step 7. Track your progress beyond just blood sugar. Yes, monitoring your blood glucose is important, and if you have a hemoglobin A1C test coming up, that's a great objective measure of how your average blood sugar has been over the past few months. But also pay attention to other markers of metabolic health. How's your energy throughout the day? Are you able to go longer between meals without feeling desperately hungry? How's your mental clarity? Are you sleeping better? Has your mood improved? Have you noticed changes in your body composition, particularly around your midsection, where visceral fat tends to accumulate? Are you needing less medication? Always work with your doctor on medication adjustments, but many people find that as their insulin sensitivity improves with apple cider vinegar and lifestyle changes, they need lower doses of their diabetes medications. All of these things are signs that your metabolic health is improving, even before you see major changes in your blood sugar numbers. And sometimes, the subjective improvements come first. You feel better before the labs reflect it. Trust that process. Your body is healing at multiple levels simultaneously. The blood sugar improvement is just one manifestation of deeper metabolic healing that's happening. Keep track of all these changes. Write them down. On days when you feel discouraged or when progress seems slow, look back at where you started. Celebrate the wins, no matter how small they seem. Every step in the right direction matters. Now I want to be really honest with you about something. Reversing type 2 diabetes and insulin resistance is absolutely possible for many people. And apple cider vinegar can be a powerful tool in that process. But it's not instantaneous, and it's not effortless. How long you've had insulin resistance, how severe it is, your genetics, your age, your stress levels, your sleep quality, what other health conditions you're dealing with. All of these factors influence how quickly you'll see results. Some people notice significant improvements within a few weeks. For others, it takes months of consistent effort. And for some people, especially those who have had type 2 diabetes for many years or who have significant pancreatic damage. Complete reversal might not be possible, though improvement absolutely is. The point isn't to set yourself up with unrealistic expectations. The point is to give your body the best possible chance to heal and to optimize your health regardless of where you're starting from. Even if you don't achieve perfect blood sugar levels, every improvement you make matters. Reducing your blood sugar from dangerously high to moderately elevated is still a huge win. Needing less medication is a win. Feeling better day to day is a win. Having more energy to play with your kids or grandkids is a win. Don't let perfect be the enemy of good. Progress is progress, and every positive change you make creates momentum for the next one. I also want to address a question I get all the time. What about people who don't have diabetes yet, but are concerned about insulin resistance or prediabetes? Is apple cider vinegar still beneficial? Absolutely, yes. In fact, this is the ideal time to intervene. Prediabetes and early insulin resistance are much easier to reverse than full-blown type 2 diabetes. Your pancreas isn't as damaged yet. Your cells are more responsive. The metabolic dysfunction hasn't become as deeply entrenched. Using apple cider vinegar along with the other lifestyle strategies we've talked about can potentially prevent you from ever developing type 2 diabetes in the first place. Prevention is always easier than treatment. If you're in that pre-diabetic range, or if you have risk factors like family history, excess weight, or symptoms like constant hunger, energy crashes, or difficulty losing weight despite eating well and exercising, start implementing these strategies now. Don't wait until the problem becomes more serious. And for those of you who are metabolically healthy and just want to optimize, apple cider vinegar still has value. Better blood sugar control means more stable energy, better mental clarity, potentially easier weight management, and reduced inflammation, which protects against countless chronic diseases. The same mechanisms that help someone with diabetes also benefit someone who's already healthy. It's about optimization and prevention, not just treatment. Good health isn't just the absence of disease. It's having a body that functions optimally, that has resilience and vitality, that allows you to live fully. Apple cider vinegar can be part of that optimization process for anyone. Let me also talk about some common mistakes people make when using apple cider vinegar, because I see these all the time and I want to help you avoid them. The first mistake is drinking it straight or not diluting it enough. I mentioned this earlier, but it bears repeating. The acidity of undiluted apple cider vinegar can seriously damage your tooth enamel. It can burn your esophagus. It can irritate your stomach lining. Always dilute it properly. 8 ounces of water minimum for 1 to 2 tablespoons of vinegar. If you have sensitive teeth, consider drinking it through a straw and then rinsing your mouth with plain water afterward. Protect your teeth. Dental health is important, and damaged enamel doesn't grow back. The second mistake is taking too much thinking more is better. With apple cider vinegar, more is not better. The research shows benefits with 1 to 2 tablespoons before meals. Going beyond that doesn't give you extra benefits, and it can cause digestive issues like nausea, upset stomach, or diarrhea. It can also potentially lower your potassium levels if you're consuming excessive amounts over a long period. Stick to the recommended dose. Be patient. Let it work. You don't need to overdo it. The third mistake is expecting apple cider vinegar to compensate for a poor diet. I've said this before, but it's worth repeating because this is a huge pitfall. You cannot out-supplement a bad diet. If you're drinking apple cider vinegar before your meals, but those meals consist of fast food, sugary drinks, and processed junk, you're not going to reverse your diabetes. The apple cider vinegar will help somewhat, but it's like trying to bail out a sinking boat with a teaspoon while water is pouring in through a giant hole. You have to fix the hole. You have to address the foundational dietary issues. Apple cider vinegar enhances and optimizes a healthy diet. It doesn't replace one. Cellular level. And you're actively burning the glucose that does enter your bloodstream. This is the kind of comprehensive approach that gets real results. All right, I know we've covered a ton of information today, and your head might be spinning a little bit. Let me just summarize the key takeaways so you know exactly what to focus on. Apple cider vinegar, specifically raw, unfiltered apple cider vinegar with the mother, can significantly improve blood sugar control and insulin sensitivity through multiple mechanisms. It slows gastric emptying, activates AMPK to improve glucose uptake in muscles, reduces excessive glucose production by the liver, enhances glycogen storage, supports a healthy gut microbiome, and reduces inflammation. The research-backed approach is to consume 1 to 2 tablespoons, diluted in at least 8 ounces of water, 10 to 15 minutes before meals, particularly meals containing carbohydrates. But apple cider vinegar is most effective when combined with other evidence-based strategies, including a whole foods diet lower in refined carbohydrates, regular physical activity, especially resistance training, and walking after meals, adequate sleep, stress management, and working with your healthcare provider to monitor your progress and adjust medications as needed. This isn't about perfection. It's about consistent implementation of multiple small changes that compound over time into significant metabolic improvement. Track your progress, not just with blood sugar numbers, but with how you feel, your energy levels, your hunger patterns, your body composition, and your overall quality of life. Reversing insulin resistance and putting type 2 diabetes into remission is possible for many people, but it requires a comprehensive approach and patience. Give your body time to heal. Celebrate the small victories along the way, and remember that even if complete reversal isn't achievable for you, every improvement you make still matters enormously for your health and longevity. You have more control over your metabolic health than you might think. You're not helpless. You're not at the mercy of genetics or bad luck. You have agency. You can make changes that create real improvement. And apple cider vinegar is one simple, accessible, affordable tool that can help you do that. If you found this information helpful and you want to dive deeper into strategies for improving your metabolic health, make sure to check out my previous video on intermittent fasting and insulin sensitivity. That pairs beautifully with what we talked about today, and it'll give you even more tools to work with. The combination of intermittent fasting and apple cider vinegar is particularly powerful for people dealing with insulin resistance. I break down exactly how to implement time-restricted eating in a way that's sustainable and effective. And I address all the common questions and concerns people have about fasting when you have blood sugar issues. Your health is worth investing in. Your body is capable of incredible healing when you give it what it needs. Don't underestimate the power of simple, consistent actions taken over time. Apple cider vinegar might seem too simple to be effective, but the science tells us otherwise. The mechanisms are real. The benefits are measurable. And countless people have used it as part of their journey to better metabolic health. You can too. Start today. Get yourself some quality apple cider vinegar. Begin implementing the strategies we talked about. Track your progress. Stay consistent. Be patient with yourself. And watch as your body responds. Thanks guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.